Hey guys, welcome back. So this video is from an article published and written back in December 10th. And this is from Accounting Today's website. And it's talking specifically about the backlog with the IRS since early 2020 and what it's going to do to us going into tax season of 2022, which is quickly approaching. So I'm going to minimize my screen here and let's talk about some of the issues that are surrounding the IRS. And the reason why this video is so important is because I've gotten so many conversations from people who've gotten letters from the IRS. They're like, why am I getting this letter? We resolved this last year or earlier this year. Well, this is why. The IRS's stance really has been, let's deal with the now first. And as we're dealing with the now first, let's just figure out the past and the backlog as it happens. So you may be getting letters from the IRS stating that, hey, you owe a tax liability, or you didn't do this, or you didn't do that, when you clearly know you did. So hopefully you've kept records. You can respond back in writing, certified mail to the IRS, indicating, here, we resolved this with you back then. That will resolve a lot of these letters coming to you. If you ignore it or if you put it off to the side, guess what you're going to continue to get? New letters, because they're dealing with the here and now with preparation for 2022, and they figure that they'll deal with the backlog as it becomes recent. So that's a big problem because it creates insecurity and fear in yourself, because you may think, hey, I still have this tax liability, I still have to pay penalties and interest, as if I never resolved this. And you did. But here's the thing with the IRS. It's okay. We'll fix it when we get to it, and we'll give you money back with interest, and we'll resolve it later. But it freaks us out. But they don't communicate that because why? They are in a backlog. So let's go through this article. Let's take a look at a few things that are concerning to us as taxpayers. And as a business owner, this is especially important because this focuses on the need for planning for taxes. Because the backlog with the IRS, and we'll see this in the article, is that all their technology is old. They use multiple platforms. It's all old. And so this goes back to planning. Be proactive and document what you're doing, okay? Because if you get a letter for an audit here in the next year or so, for whatever reason, they're probably working on old information, okay? So this is why it's so important to make sure that you have your documentation, make sure you have your corporate minutes updated, make sure that all your financial statements are put together. Make sure you have a statement of why you pay yourself, a reasonable compensation report. Make sure you have a good understanding of what decisions you made as a business and why you made those decisions, and jot those down. Put those down in writing, okay? And if you're not sure how to do that, feel free to reach out to us. Add a comment down below. Send us an email at our email address is support@terrafirmaconsultantsllc.com, and we'll reach back out to you and tell you what you need to do to get these things together. You are responsible for your business, and we want to make sure that we're here to help you, support you, and that's why we have this YouTube video talking about the various topics for business owners. And we're not focusing specifically on tax, we're focusing on all the things a business owner has issues with. And we call those the economic termites: inflation, taxes, time, laws and regulations, and debt. And those are the things that we're going to focus on this YouTube channel. So if you like what you're going to hear, you've gone back to the previous videos, you've saw it, or you want to hear more up front, please subscribe to this channel. Hit the little bell so that way you get notified when we upload new videos. We try to do it on a weekly basis and make sure we try to keep you informed on things that are going on. We're not always great at doing it weekly, but sometimes we do 2 in a week, and then every 10 days all of a sudden we do 1. So we try to give you pertinent information. We're not trying to hit certain algorithms or anything like that. What we're trying to do is give you pertinent information. You're busy. You don't need you don't need distractions, right? You have a business to focus on. You have success. You have employees to worry about. Make sure they have food on their table. Customers to care for. You get the idea. I don't need to tell you what your business is all about, do I? But that's what's important. If you like what you hear, give us a thumbs up. Encourage us. Let us know that, hey, this is helpful. We want to keep doing this. And if you have any thoughts or ideas or things that you want to hear about, add that to the comment section below. Because this channel is for you guys. We have found that there's not a lot of information out there that is specific to small business owners, specific to these what we call economic termites that affect the running of a business. Sure, we have taxes, we have coaching, we have sales, all this different kind of stuff. But our business is all about filling the gaps. And that's corporate minutes. That's documentation for how you get compensated, right? We're going to fill in the gaps with all the other professionals you have. So, all right, enough of all that. Let me go ahead and minimize the screen here. Let's dive into this article and let's see what we have to say here. So this is back on December 10th, like I had mentioned. Michael Cohn, he's the editor-in-chief of Accounting Today. Lawmakers demand answers on IRS backlog before next tax season. Demand. I want answers, right? I love the language. So a group of 99 House Republicans has sent a letter to the IRS commissioner. And what are they asking for? Hey, let us know what you're going to do with this backlog. Okay, we all know there's backlog. So in the letter that the members pointed out that the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration recently reported that more than 9.6 million unprocessed paper returns received in 2021. Paper returns. These are tax returns. 9.6 million. Now you more than likely filed an electronic return. So it got probably addressed right away. So how many, maybe some of your employees, right? They haven't gotten the refund check yet or whatever. And so that may be causing a little financial stress because a lot of employees I know rely on that refund check. Okay. So another 5 million paper and e-file returns have been suspended during processing. So even your e-file. Okay. So this is a big deal. Why? Well, the IRS is trying to catch up from when? Well, building up from storage. They have storage trailers outside their facilities that are loaded up with your mail. Okay. Now, the reason why this is they're trying to manage at least to open up as much of the unopened mail. New correspondences arrive every day. Not surprising, right? Because a lot of, especially if the IRS is sending out, they're dealing with the here and now and they're sending out requests. Guess what? You and I are going to send out back requests and send them paper. So it's going to create a backlog of current stuff because we're probably saying, hey, we resolved this. Why are we doing this? Every day getting all the old tax returns fully processed remains a work in progress. Okay, so this massive backlog is causing significant and unnecessary burdens for families and small businesses who can't get answers from the IRS about why their returns have not been processed. Now, if this was any other type of normal year to year to year, it would not be a big deal. But because we're coming out of the fiasco of 2020, and I'm not saying that that COVID and everything else going on with the virus is not real. Okay, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is the reaction and the constant reaction to that and trying to drive this fear in our minds and in our heads has caused this to be an issue. And so you have a lot of families and small businesses that had to shut their business down for a period of time because they were required to. And maybe they're relying on some of the tax money that they had prepaid, estimated taxes, but their revenue went to zero and they gave the IRS 20 grand in estimated taxes from the previous year. Okay? And now all of a sudden they've been out of business for 9 months and they really need what? That return to keep the business open, keep employees on staff, right? So I don't know. I know businesses have had a hard time. Not all businesses. I know some businesses have been very successful during this period of time. Understand, okay? We're not talking about that business. We're talking about those that are relying on the IRS to do what they've said they would do. We'll talk about their mission statement in a second. The IRS is in danger of falling into a vicious backlog cycle that will harm millions of taxpayers. I think it is. So as business owners, we have many, many tasks, right? We have so many tasks on a daily basis. We have our to-do lists. How many times do you finish the day? You look at your to-do list, you've got 10 items and you checked off one item. And you're looking at tomorrow, the next day, and you're going, oh my goodness, I've already got another 5 things for tomorrow, and I didn't even finish this, right? How often does that happen? Of course, it happens, right? Don't you think this is going to happen as well with the IRS, is as they update technology? Do you think all of a sudden that's going to be seamless? How has that been when you've just gotten a new computer just personally at home, right? I mean, as technology advances, our understanding of it decreases, right? So we create our own backlog. So imagine a entity like the IRS working on 30 to 60 different platforms, changing and integrating technology into their many offices and systems. So we have an issue in what they're talking about, vicious. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of that term, but backlog cycle is going to continue. Absolutely. Now, they're especially worried about the impact of the next filing season. Of course they are. The IRS prepares for 2022 tax seasons. We will write the great concern regarding the backlog of unprocessed returns from the current 2021 and 2020 filing seasons. Okay, so this is why it's so important. If you're a business owner and you're not documenting, you're not being proactive, you're not laying out what you've done between, let's just say, start now. Forget 2020, forget 2021. Let's start now, start documenting. We'll show you, reach out to us, we'll show you how to document your previous years and how to make sure you maintain your records for previous years so you're prepared, so that way you have the ability to communicate to the IRS if they ever communicate to you, okay? And here's the key, right? When you play a game, or you play a card game, or you go play a game of pool, or you go to an event, or you do anything, there's always rules, right? You go to a new country, there's certain guidelines and rules, right? You need to know the rules to know how to, act. It's very simple. Same thing here with taxes, and same thing with the IRS. So you need to make sure you have that ability to be able to be prepared for that, okay? So the Biden administration has requested more funding for the IRS. And we're going to see later on in the article in 2019, there was already funding that went to the IRS, but the current administration is adding $79 to $80 billion to the IRS budget. But many of the same GOP lawmakers who are complaining about the backlog have also been resistant to the extra funding. And I think a lot of that, and I'm not defending them, but I think a lot of that is because, well, why do you keep throwing money into a hole, right? It's like the U.S. Postal Service. They keep throwing billions of dollars into that hole, and every year they're returning less and less. If you are a business and every year you're losing more money than you're making, what's going to happen to your business? But because this is a federal entity, they can raise taxes, they can borrow money, they can print money, fill in the gap, print $80 billion and fill in the gap for extra funding and make sure it works well, right? Especially if the money goes towards increased enforcement and audit taxpayers. Well, the reason why they're complaining about this is because more than likely is, hey, you can't go audit and try to enforce certain things on taxpayers, because notice it says taxpayers. So business owners who have taxpayers, they have employees, they're paying payroll taxes, sales taxes, they're paying their taxes, and you're going to go and try to squeeze out more. That's your right as the IRS. But this is why I'm saying, Mr. Mrs. Business Owner, if you're listening to this, why you have to be prepared. Have your documentation. Be prepared. Because if an IRS agent comes knocking on your door and they're asking for material and you're saying, here, and you have answers to their questions and written documentation to back up your answers, how much time are they going to spend with you? Very little. They're going to go to the next guy who's not prepared, where there is low-hanging fruit. The IRS is not looking for the taxes. They're looking for penalties and interest. That's their rate of return on taxes. And they're going to charge penalties and interest on back taxes until that tax liability is paid back. So the latest tax liability gets paid first. Okay, so that's very important to understand. And so we need to understand this, especially if the money goes towards increased enforcement audit taxpayers, which would bring in revenue for the administration's Build Back Better Act, which has so far attracted support only from Democrats. And the reason being is that How much in this act is going to things that are non-US productive stuff, right? Things that are not trying to create real tax revenue. So they're saying it's going to create, $79 billion in tax revenue, but we're spending what? $2 trillion. Right? Or in this case, we're spending 80 billion for the IRS to update to get what, 79 billion back. That's a shortfall of $1 billion, right? So just basic math stuff we're looking at. Despite a voluntary compliance rate of over 80%, that means over 80% of the United States taxpayers voluntarily compliant with the tax code. That's important, okay? This helps tens of thousands of additional IRS auditors and provisions that would require financial institutions to transmit their customers' private and sensitive data. This was a few videos ago where the IRS, the government was trying to say, hey, $600 inflow and outflows, the banks need to notify us as the IRS of what those $600 are, okay? And all those transactions. Well, we talked about that. It could be your car vehicle, right? It could be your mortgage. It could be your rent, right? It could be your student loan. But all of that, they're just driving into your privacy. All right. They get a lot of our money already. So please stop trying to grab more unjustifiably. And I wouldn't mind higher taxes if they were reducing their spending. Honestly, I would not mind higher revenue. We as business owners strive for higher revenue. I get it. I understand that the government is a business as well. It's a business to serve us. In order to serve us the best way, customer service wise, sometimes the cost of doing that increases and you need to have higher revenue. I get that. I'm not arguing that. What I'm arguing is that their costs and expenses continue. They spend more and more. And that's what we see in these Build Back Better acts and these different acts where they're starting to throw how many billions of dollars to go into other countries where we don't get any return benefits. Okay. That's a big issue. That's a big issue to me. Okay, so let's see here. Too little attention is focused on the first aspect of the IRS's stated mission. This is the IRS's stated mission. Provide America's taxpayers top quality service by helping them understand and meet their tax responsibilities. Okay? That's important to know. If that's to help them understand. Okay? Now, I will give the IRS credit that they are very communicative. The entire tax code is online. The way they communicate is through publications and different letters and notations and things that they communicate to us as tax-paying citizens. So I don't fault them for their way they communicate. They do a very good job of communication. What we don't understand is we're so busy, we don't have time to read because we read it and we're like, I don't understand this language. What are they saying? It's a different dialect, right? It's like reading a contract that a lawyer put together. You're scratching your head and you're like, what did they just say? But it was all English, right? Same thing with the IRS code. So you need someone who understands that dialect to be able to help you understand what's your responsibility. And that's what we've been saying. Documentation, preparedness, preparation. And if you don't know how to do that, you got to reach out to somebody who knows how and who's going to help. And that's what we would be willing to help you do. All right. So they're going to add $79 billion over the next decade for IRS tax services, business system modernization, operation support, and enforcement activities. Here is the crazy data. Here's the crazy numbers that was mind-boggling to me. Okay, the IRS is a government entity. Okay, by the Treasury Department. According to the IRS data book, the number of customer service representatives, just customer service representatives, when you call and you get a human, that's what we're talking about, employed at the end of 2010 was 21,000 employees. The same time in 2020, there was 12,000. Okay? Now, a lot of that could be due to retirement. A lot of that could be due to what? The shutdown, right? People scared going back to work. People not going to work, right? I don't know what the difference of that 9 million is, but the reality is there was, and I do know that during the previous administration, when certain spots went vacant, they did not fill those spots. Because why? They're trying to decrease spending, all right? But that's a big deal. That's a very big deal. The result is that with inflation, there's about a 22% on an inflation adjustment basis. Okay, so that means that there's about a shortfall of 15,000 employees. Okay, so the first Taxpayer Act in 19, this is what I said, they gave money to improve its technology and staffing, right? Those are the things we're complaining about. Now we're still in a backlog, right? That money, was it put to technology? Well, that was 2019. Right? So what technology are they upgrading? What have they done? Has that been part of the backlog as well? Not just the quote unquote pandemic, right? The National Taxpayer Advocate has reported that the IRS has 60 different case management systems. Okay? Why in the world do you have 60 different management systems? 60. You are an entity that has not changed, meaning that you didn't go buy another IRS competitor. You are a monopoly. So why do you have 60 different systems? Mismanagement. That's our taxpayer dollars right there. So you're asking us to pay more money into mismanagement. That goes back to my comment of this hole. Okay? This is not good. Okay? We as taxpayers do not approve of this. So the IRS should have 1 to 3 systems, just like you and I as a business owner. Most of us have one system. Now, if you want to try to create and do something new, you can have programmers add that to your system, or maybe it's more cost effective to add a additional system. But over the years, that happened 60 times. You got to change this. And before the 2020, the IRS was already backlogged. They were already backlogged. Okay, so that's why earlier when it said a vicious cycle backlog, it's been happening for a decade already. Okay, so, and many of these have become obsolete and limit taxpayers' ability to get the full details about their cases. So anyway, so this is interesting. I just find that it's important for us to share this information with you as a business owner, as a taxpayer. Yes, I put a little bit of my bias and slant on it, of course, because you and I are in the same boat. We're business owners. This affects us. And how does it affect us? And I want to be able to use our ability to understand and translate what's going on from the things that we see, the people we talk to, and the things we hear, so you can get a quick little snippet version, sure, in 20 minutes, but I think it's very important for you to understand what's going on. And it's your responsibility. Look at your tax return right above where you sign. It says it's your responsibility. This is not your CPA's responsibility. It's not your bookkeeper's responsibility. It's not anybody's responsibility but yours. You're the owner. And so you're going to be held liable. That's very, very important to understand. Now, you may sit there and say, well, I don't know this stuff. Absolutely, but that's not an excuse according to the IRS. Okay? So let us help you. Let people help you in figuring out how do we do these things that I talked about. Really, it's about documentation. That's it. You're doing a great job bookkeeping and from the tax side of things. What about the compliance side of things of notating what your business is doing, such as corporate minutes? Okay. And if you have no idea what I'm saying about corporate minutes, you have pierced your own corporate veil. You are non-compliant. If you can't justify to the IRS why you're paying yourself a certain W-2 other than the response of, well, my CPA told me. That's not a response. You're responsible, not your CPA. Okay? You may pay your CPA to represent you if you're audited, but they're still not responsible or liable for you signing your tax return. Okay? So very, very important. So we want to be here to help you and assist you in this. So anyways, if you like this, subscribe it, hit the bell, give us a thumbs up, add some notations and comments, and feel free to share this with other business owners. Like, man, no one's talking about this. You got to check this out. Spend 20 minutes and check this out with your morning coffee. Yeah, maybe it's not the first of the day type of conversation, but this is extremely important. Your business is essentially what's on the line. How much is it going to cost if you do get audited for whatever reason and you're not prepared for it? So anyways, thank you guys. Take care.